Inside Meowcari's caddy shacky, the group of reunited friends huddled together. Their faces were etched with worry. The main room area was dimly lit, with only a few flickering lights from Meowcari's devices to illuminate the space. Ellie pinched the skin between her eyes, a habit she had when she was deep in thought. So, okay. The only way we're getting out of this place is to find Naj's mansion of horrors. Is that right? She asked, her voice laced with uncertainty. Jaida nodded solemnly, her eyes locked on the Voyd, who sat beside her, his own eyes fixed on the floor. Unfortunately so, she replied. The air was thick with tension as the group digested the weight of their situation. Voyd, still seated, rubbed his eyes, his expression a mixture of frustration and exhaustion. And in order to do so, we need to either get a blessing or take the Dynasty member's essence to move forward. Great, he muttered, his sarcasm palpable. Coco piped up. Why do we need to do all that? Can't Jaida just warp us over or have Voyd fly us? Meowcari shook his head, his bright red skin a stark contrast to the gloomy atmosphere. The ringy barriers are massive force fields, guarded by passage gates in the backy sections of each manor. We'll all need the Havi, the blessing of a wraith, or essency to pass. Ellie's eyes narrowed, her gaze fixed on Meowcari. Wait a second, kitty. You look like a smaller version of that big cat that tried to make me, Coco, and Toby lunch. The room fell silent as the group turned to Meowcari, their faces a mix of curiosity. Was it green? Winona asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Coco nodded, her eyes wide with horror. Yeah, big, multiple arms, real sight to behold. Did you guys see it too? Voyd and Toonie exchanged a glance, their faces a picture of confusion. Oh, sorry, girlies. That was my daddy. Meowcari replied, nonchalantly, leaving those who didn't know stunned. The room was filled with an awkward silence, punctuated only by the sound of Meowcari's casual shrug. How did your dad get to the other side of the island? It's only been an hour or two, Jaida asked, her voice laced with confusion. Meowcari's expression turned thoughtful, before he shrugged again. Faster with more leggies, I guessy. As the group struggled to process this new information, Toonie's voice cut through the silence. Anywho, are you saying that lab behind us, the one me and Voyd escaped from, we gotta go back in there to move ahead? His voice was filled with worry, his eyes wide with fear. Meowcari nodded, his expression somber. Great, Wait, I forgot! He exclaimed, lurching up from his seat. I completely forgot! Toonie then pulled out his phone, his fingers flying across the screen as he scrolled through his photos. When me and Voyd were trapped in there, I came across something crazy. The group gathered around him, their faces lit up with curiosity as he showed them the photos of a massive mechanical armor. What the hell is that? Francine trailed off, her voice filled with panic. What in the Mechagodzilla? Ellie added, her eyes wide with wonder. Toonie's eyes sparkled with shock. I saw a diagram of this thing, a schematic, a blueprint. It was calling it Warnog's battle body. The room fell silent as the group digested this new information. Jaida's voice cut through it, her tone measured. Wait, Warnog was struck down by his makers. If he's revived, and if he's to take over the cosmic realm again, they must be preparing this for him. Something to enhance him, I guess. Coco's voice was laced with skepticism. Enhance him? For what? Voyd's expression was grim, his eyes locked on the image, having a pretty clear idea on what this was meant for. War, he stated, his voice firm. Nog, Ellie whispered, her eyes sparkling with mischief. But most of the group shook their heads. Toby simply tilted his head in confusion. Oh, come on, it was funny, she boasted. Voyd's voice cut through the bad attempt of a joke. If I recall, the story was that the creator struck Warnog down. If he's revived, they're probably preparing to make him unstoppable so it doesn't happen again. You don't just try and take over someone's land by force without expecting a fight. The room fell silent, the group's faces set with determination. Winona's voice was firm. So, they're planning on giving a cosmic god a weaponized buff if he's revived. Gotcha. She nervously looked at Jaida. Jaida, you do not leave our sides from here on out. Jaida nodded nervously, her eyes locked on the Voyd. Another thing, Jaida, the spark began, his voice hesitant. Don't freak, but your mom is in that mountain lab too. Jaida's eyes widened, her face turning to shock. What? She is? Voyd nodded, his expression somber. Yes. But Jaida's mind was racing, her thoughts a jumble of emotions. But you said she'd be with Father Naja, she asked towards Mercury, as his expression turned thoughtful. Yesy. If your mommy is here, that could also mean that Naja is here too. Jaida thought hard, her mind racing wildly. Was she okay? The angel asked back to Voyd, who gave an unsure stare, his blue eyes showing unease. She attacked us. She warped her body out of an energy tank, only her top half. Voyd blasted her away when we made it. Toonie covered his mouth, and Voyd shot him a look. Dude! Voyd hissed, but Jaida had heard enough. What? You shot my mom? Jaida asked. Voyd looked back at her, panic etched on his face. I'm sorry. She was gonna kill us. Jaida's stare hardened. You still shot my mom! Voyd winced, unsure of how to continue. She was going all teke-teke on us. I had no choice. Voyd tried to explain, as Jaida sighed and held her head. Teke-teke? Francine asked. It's a stupid ghost story of a girl that was chopped in half. Ellie replied, as everyone began to recollect themselves. Everyone, okay, look, Voyd said, commanding the attention of the room. Clearly, our situation has escalated. But we now have a way home. That requires us, all of us, to be smart about what we do next going forward. Voyd began as he stood up. I'm still worried sick about every single one of you. But it's clear to me now more than ever that if we want to get back home, we gotta work as a team, even through deadly situations. Voyd said with resolve, looking at Jaida. We're gonna go back to the lab, and we're gonna find your mom and try and fix her, and then we find Hex and hopefully get a blessing. Voyd stated as he eyed Jaida, who stood as well. She nodded firmly. You do remember where she was at, right? Jaida asked, a serious tone locked on her face. Voyd then looked back to Toonie, who gave a small thumbs up. Voyd returned his gaze to Jaida and nodded. I have lots of techie, picky and choosy, Mercury exclaimed to the others with a giggle. In that moment, they all nodded and fanned out, searching for supplies to venture forth. Ellie wandered about for a moment, until finding some barbed wire, the sharp tips glowing hot with orange burning spikes. Yo, cat dude, what's this crap? Looks deadly, she asked. Ember wire. It's a great weapony, perfect for trappies, Mercury boasted. Ellie smirked, beginning to wrap up her bat, Perfect, she said. Coco was rummaging through old parts on the other side of the cabin, until she came across a long metal staff that looked like a bubble wand. "What the heck is this, cat dude?" she asked.
"That is a bouncy wand. Famous athletes here use them to bounce in combat. Just give it a nice swingy and descend upon your enemies with a thwack,"
Mercury said with enthusiasm, as Coco smiled at it, her reflection gleaming in the metal. "Well, I can jump pretty high. Let's see how well it works," she boasted, awkwardly adjusting its weight so she could hold it. Winona ascended the stairs, finding a strange item upon a table. It was a long, dark wooden stick, tipped with faint glowing wrapping cloth. "Hey, Mercury," she called. The cat bounded up.
"Yesy?"
he asked as Winona picked up the stick. "What's this? It's not mechanical like the other junk you have around here." Mercury giggled.
"Oh, that is a branch from an Atlas scorched tree, a rare plant in Ophis that can flare up a cosmic fiery in different seasons,"
Mercury explained as Winona eyed the strange stick. "Does it light on then?" she asked. Mercury simply shrugged before descending. Winona, after a moment of thought, gently took out Ellie's lighter, eyeing the wrapped end. She then looked around at the cabin, deciding it probably wasn't the best idea. "Big stick it is," she told herself, all the while Francine watched from afar and below. "Hey, Raspberry, you gonna gear up?" Voyd asked, making Francine turn with a scowl. No. Why would I carry something that could potentially kill me?" Voyd eyed her with a dumbfounded stare. "So that you don't potentially get killed by something else?" he asked. Francine rolled her eyes, turning away. "Hey, could you just take all this a bit more seriously? This is life or death," Voyd asked. "I am. I'm just not one to use a weapon. I'm not built for combat," she stated, and Voyd huffed in annoyance. "Yeah, sure, not like you already have a weapon." Your voice with the power of annoyance. Francine eyed him. "What was that?" she asked. Voyd scoffed. "Nothing, Your Highness. Nothing." There was a heavy tension between them. Jaida and all the others regrouped, looking the Voyd with prepped eyes. "We ready?" Voyd looked back to Francine, who stood near the back of the group, reluctantly nodding with a dissolving expression. "Yeah," Voyd replied, activating his mask with a sharp metallic clank. "Let's go," he stated, while Toonie pocketed many of the cosmic fire grenades Mercury had. "Round two, amigo?" he asked.
"Mission-y time!"
Mercury cried, pulling on his backpack up and over his shoulders. "Yeah, round two," Voyd affirmed as he looked to the door. Together, the group exited the cabin and sprinted to the elevator inside the mountain face. With a click of the call button, the door opened and everyone piled in, cramped but ready. "All right, Toonster, take us to Amelia," Voyd commanded, but Toonie paused. "Oh, right, about that," he said, making everyone eye him. "What?" Jaida asked, her tone eager. "So, the way I found her the last time was, like this, so..." "Okay, don't get mad, don't get mad!" Without warning, Toonie suddenly hit many of the buttons, making everyone stare with taken-aback eyes. No words left their mouth, as the doors began to close, except for Francine. "You stupid motherfucker." The group was stuck in an awkward silence. The doors opened and closed, a repetitive cycle that seemed to drag on forever. The air was thick with the smell of sweat, dirt, and metal, and the group's gears seemed to take up more and more space with each passing moment. Ellie was the first to break the silence. her nose twitching in distaste. "Alright, whoever just passed gas, count your days," she stated, her voice low and menacing. The group erupted into a chorus of denials, each member shaking their head and proclaiming their innocence. "What? I didn't," Voyd said, his voice firm. "Neither did I," Winona stated, her eyes scanning the group. But before anyone else could chime in, Meowkery spoke up.
"Oh, forgiving me. That's just my natural body odory. Smells rather nicey if I do say so myselfy."
The group ignored him, all carrying a look of disgust. That was until Francine spoke up, her voice icy. "I really hate you." The tension was palpable, but it was broken by the elevator doors finally chiming open, revealing the lab in all of its glory. "Oh, this is it! Go, go, go!" Toonie shouted, and the group piled out, their gear at the ready. Voyd activated his arm cannons, the hum of energy filling the air, while Jaida summoned a bow, its string thrumming with cosmic power. Ellie raised her barbed wire bat, its hot metal spikes glinting in the green fluorescent light, and Coco her staff, its metallic shaft glinting. Winona readied her stick, its tip begging to be lit. Meowkery bounced ahead, looking firm, while Toonie and Francine lingered back, their eyes scanning the room. But as they looked around, they were met with an eerie silence. The vat in the center of the room was empty, its glass gleaming in the light. The mechanical arms around the area hung limp, their hydraulic system still and quiet. The generators hummed, a steady thrum of power, but the room was otherwise still. And Amelia, she was nowhere to be seen. "Rivara, damn it!" Voyd stated, his voice heavy with defeat. "She's gone." The group began to search the room, their movements swift and urgent. Jaida then asked aloud, her voice laced with worry. No, where did she go?" Everyone looked around, their eyes scanning the space for any sign of her mother. Ellie then paused, her eyes narrowing as she eyed the ground, taking in the scratch marks where Amelia had dragged herself. She squinted, her eyes focusing on the scene before her, and then looked around the room, trying to get a feel for what was going on. "Hey guys, am I the only one that feels something ain't right?" she called, her voice low and cautious. "What's up?" Winona asked. Ellie continuously scanned the room, her gaze lingering on the empty vat, the still mechanical arms. "Doesn't this just not feel right?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Big Mama's gone, lab is empty, and am I the only one that didn't notice any other wraiths as we hit the floors?" The group pondered this for a moment, their faces thoughtful, before Coco spoke up, her voice reasoning. "Maybe they're all below building Warnog's battle body." Ellie pondered this. Maybe. Let's just keep our eyes peeled, people." As small talk began, Jaida sighed, her shoulders sagging in defeat. She dissolved her bow and approached the vat, ascending the small stairs until she was face to face with it. Her hair then hummed a shade of blue as she placed her hand upon the glass. Her eyes seemed to bore into the empty space, as if searching for any sign of her mother. Voyd approached her and gave her assurance. "We're gonna find her," he said, his voice soft and reassuring. Jaida turned to him, her eyes meeting his through the mask, and shook her head. "They're using her, Voyd," she stated, her voice barely above a whisper. I can feel the room. I can tell she's in pain." Voyd, unsure of what to say next, just opened his arms, and Jaida gently embraced him, her head resting on his shoulder. "We're gonna help her," he promised, his voice solemn. "We'll figure this out. I know we will." As they rocked back and forth, the group began to disperse, each member searching the room for any clue that might lead them to Amelia, or perhaps Hex, maybe even Naja. Ellie began to poke and prod at various objects, her bat at the ready. "What are you doing?" Francine asked, walking beside her, her eyes scanning the room as well. "Doing the crap my dad taught me," Ellie replied, her voice distracted. "Sort of detective-like junk, trying to see if there is anything around here that could benefit our search." Francine raised an eyebrow beneath her bangs, her expression skeptical. "Looks more like child's play than detective work." Ellie shot her a look, her eyes flashing with annoyance. "Shut it! I'm trying to see if something is actually useful in here." She then stopped, noticing a bunch of screens. In alien marking, she could see a strange depiction of a camera. She mused, before fumbling the dials beside the screens. Her fingers moved with practiced ease. The screens buzzed and flickered, before suddenly springing to life, displaying a series of numbers and test tube cameras. Ellie's eyes scanned over the screens, her gaze lingering on one camera in particular. And there she was. Amelia, suspended in a tank, being watched by a surveillance system. Ellie paused, tilting her head. "There you are," she huffed, until noticing the labels in the camera corners, each screen an individual label. C4, B8, D6. And then she noticed one of them, showing herself and everyone else on the screen in the room. Above it, read the words, A17. "Hey losers, does this lab have a number by chance?" Ellie asked. Toonie turned, seeing a label above the door. Yeah, A17, why?" Toonie asked. Ellie snapped her eyes to the screen with Amelia. S20, it said in the corner. She grinned wide. "Ah, I found her!" Ellie cried. Jaida suddenly warped herself and Voyd to Ellie. "You did?" she asked, looking at the screen, a breath of relief escaping her. "Seems like they moved her to S20. Back to the elevator, people," she commanded, feeling prideful. Good work, Miss Sangston." Ellie nodded the Voyd's compliment. "Don't mention it." "Explode strike zone!" she suddenly said, jabbing Voyd in the side. He grunted. "Oh, seriously? I freaking complimented you!" he cried as they all made their way back to the elevator. "Ha ha ha ha." Ellie laughed as they entered and hit the button labeled as S20, and away they went. The elevator doors sighed open once more, spilling green light onto a floor that was nothing like the lab they had left behind. Instead of metal and humming servers, a massive cavern yawned before them, making everyone's jaws drop. Ancient stone walls rose like the ribs of a dead beast, their surfaces slick with glowing minerals. Large, jagged green crystals thrusted outwards from the rock, glowing and shimmering bright. At the very heart of the chamber, a translucent tank of emerald energy stood. Within, Amelia Woods floated. Around the capsule, dozens of stone wraiths, silent, gaunt statues with arms outstretched in prayer, formed a circle. Their stony eyes seemed to watch as if guarding the night. Winona was the first to break the stunned silence. "What the hell?" she muttered, her voice echoing off the stone. Jaida stepped forward, her heart hammering against her ribs, eyes wide with a mixture of awe and terror. "Mama," she whispered, the single word trembling on her lips. The group gathered at the edge of the chamber, their boots and sneakers clinking against the ancient floor. Coco, cradling Toby in her arms, tried to make sense of the scene. "Okay, what is this? We're in a high-tech lab, not a temple, right?" Macri moved forward with soft steps, his voice suddenly turning into its more stable tone. "It's a sanctuary," he explained, his tail flicking towards the glowing crystals.
These stones pulse outward with Warnog's essence and the pure energy. It's where wraiths or anyone with Warnog's power can heal with ease.
The cat said, looking at Amelia.
They're regenerating her armored shell. You said you shot her, did you not?
Voyd flinched at the accusation. He lowered his head, his mask lens reflecting in the green glow.
These crystals are sacred in Ophis,
Miakri continued.
Every dynasty manor has a shrine. This is Hex's.
Jaida's hand rose, trembling, and she pressed it against the transparent barrier that separated her from her mother. The glass was cool, and the moment stretched thin between them like a fragile thread. From the sudden connection, Amelia's helmet visor flickered a soft green, and for a heartbeat, the world fell still. "Mom," Jaida breathed, her orange hair catching light. "I'm here. I'm here, Mama. Can you hear me? It's me. It's Jaida." Toonie pulled back, eyes darting.
I don't think that's a good idea. She was angry the last time we...
He didn't finish his warning before Winona's hand shot out, gripping his muzzle and pulling him back. Her grip was gentle but firm.
"Let her have this,"
Winona said, her voice a steady anger. The green vat surged, and Amelia's visor flashed. It shimmered a bright green, her body awakening, twitching, before looking down slowly. For a moment, everyone was prepared for a possible battle, until her gaze snapped from its teal green to a brilliant blue. The entire cavern breathed in unison, the stone walls shimmering a sapphire hue that matched the pulse of the energy vat. A collective gasp rose from the group. The atmosphere shifted from foreboding to relief. Amelia, after a long, still moment, lowered herself, her massive form descending with a slow, dignified grace. Though the helmet concealed her face, the tilt of her head and the gentle tremor in her shoulders spoke volumes. She reached out, a massive metal hand pressing against the glass where Jaida's small hand rested. Jaida, doing her best to not break down, placed both hands on the glass. Amelia's visor hummed gently, and she mirrored Jaida's motions, pressing both of her hands onto the barrier.
"Pumpkin?"
A muffled voice asked from the vat. Jaida choked, her throat raw. "Hi, Mom!" She weeped, her voice cracking but fierce with love. A solid sense of ease washed over everyone. It was her. She wasn't attacking or being controlled in this moment. It was Amelia Woods, the real Amelia.
"My little rock star,"
Amelia murmured, resting her helmet against the glass.
"You've grown so much."
Her voice trembled, reverberating through the glass. "Mama, is it really you?" Jaida asked, tears streaming down her cheeks. Amelia's head bowed, and she whispered,
"It is. I know I may look different, but it's me. I promise you, it's me."
The knight's helm tipped forward.
"I've missed you so much, Pumpkin. And so has your father,"
Amelia said, her tone sad.
"These aliens, they took me from the afterlife. They forced my soul to serve them. I'm no longer in control of myself."
Her words were heavy, each sentence a weight she tried to lift.
"They're using me to get to you. Your power, Pumpkin. Your gift."
Jaida clenched her fists, her emotions hardening. "I know, Mom. I know. We're gonna try and find a way to free you. I promise." The bond between mother and daughter pulsed like a silent promise across the glass. Voyd stepped forwards, his masked face illuminated by the blue light. He stared at Amelia, the visor reflecting her own. Then, he retracted his helmet to look upon her with his own eyes. Mrs. Woods, he faltered, caught by the intensity of her gaze. Amelia inclined her head, eyeing the spark. You, she stated. You're the boy who won my daughter's heart. She then chuckled, making Voyd blush awkwardly. Don't be scared or embarrassed, sweetie. Me and my husband watched your love blossom from afar. I'm happy she was able to find a partner like you, Voyd Novason. Voyd blushed harder, rubbing the back of his neck. Thank you, Mrs. Woods. Really, it's nice to finally meet you. He lowered his voice, trying to sound formal. Please, dear, call me Amelia. Mrs. Woods? Winona began, stepping forward. Hi, sorry to interrupt. I'm just curious. How come you're not going crazy night mode on us right now? How are you able to, Winona questioned. Yeah, you were definitely struggling back at Forest Fest, Ellie added, adjusting her bat. How are you able to control yourself now? Amelia's eyes, if they could be called that, shone with a calm certainty. Like your cat friend said, this room, it's a sacred place for the aliens. The crystals align with my essence and Warnog's control, letting me bypass the hold the alien force has over my armor. As soon as I leave this area, the controlled connection will fade. Coco raised an inquisitive eyebrow. So, when you're in this place, you're essentially in a middle ground? She asked. Yes, little one. The energy here stabilizes me. Amelia replied, her voice steadier. I'm in perfect harmony with this essence. It's the only place I can think clearly, when my thoughts are my own once again. Jaida's mind raced. How can we help? How can we help you get out of that armor? Is there a spell, a reversal fluid? Amelia's visor pulsed a thoughtful blue. Naja has hold over me. His amulet. If you break the amulet, my soul will be freed from these shackles, Amelia stated. However, I believe there's another way. A different solution that wouldn't require you all to enter the devil's domain, Amelia stated, pointing to Voyd and Jaida. Perhaps your soulbind, your connection will have the power to break this armor. If you can channel that bond into me, it might shatter these chains. Voyd and Jaida exchanged a look, the unspoken understanding passing between them. If we're able to trap something like Lotus, then surely we can do the reversal of that, right? We can break the cage, Jaida stated to her beloved, and Voyd nodded. That makes sense. We'll do it, Voyd said, his tone resolute. Guys, let's get this vat open, naturally. If we break it, we'll alert everyone, Voyd said, looking back to Amelia. How do we do that? Ellie asked. Turn the lower platform valves. It will drain the fluid and open the top. I would warp out, but you and Toonie know what happened last time, Amelia said, eyeing the brothers in arms. Yeah, let's not fix you with only half a body, Toonie replied awkwardly. The team sprang into action, their hands taking hold of large pressure valves below, beginning to turn the platform, slowly but steadily. Amid the frantic push, Jaida and Amelia's eyes locked once more through the glass, each seeing the other's longing reflected in the other's gaze. You just said warp. Have you really been watching over me all this time? Amelia giggled. Sorry. Let me rephrase that to warping. Jaida, unable to contain herself, hugged the glass. Amelia, pressing herself as close as she could in response.
I never thought I'd see you again.
Jaida wept, voice barely audible over the clatter. Amelia's visor softened.
And yet here we are. I'm proud of you, Pumpkin. Protecting our city, standing beside Voyd, saving the universe from that cube-headed freak. I'm so very proud.
She pressed her gloved finger to the glass, mimicking the motion of poking Jaida's nose.
Your father is too. I wish he was here with me. It's been rather lonely in this place.
Jaida smiled. You're not alone anymore, Mom. We're gonna get you out of this. A burst of triumph erupted as Ellie shouted, We've just about got it! Coco followed with a whoop. Almost there! Their faces lit with the glow of success, but the most radiant smile belonged to Jaida. This sucks! Just broken nail! Francine whined.
You better give me the biggest hug a daughter could give when I'm free,
Amelia said, her voice lighting with a warmth that cut through the cavern's chill. Jaida's eyes filled with tears that shone like molten amber. I will, she promised, reaching again for the barrier, feeling the faint vibration of Amelia's armor thrumming in response. You bet I... Before Jaida could finish her loving exchange, Amelia suddenly jolted with a sharp, startling jerk. At the same time, Voyd did the same. They suddenly both shouted in agonizing pain, getting everyone's attention, the vat flickering like electricity. It was as if they were both suddenly electrocuted by an unseen force. Ah! What was that? Voyd asked with sudden panic. Whoa! What happened? Jaida demanded, looking between the most important people in her world. Amelia jerked her head to Voyd, and the two locked eyes.
No, they know what's happening,
Amelia said, looking up and down Voyd. Oh no, she gasped, looking to suddenly remember something. What? What is it? Voyd asked as everyone looked on with panic.
Oh God, no. Voyd, I completely forgot,
Amelia cried.
Kid, back at the festival, they used me to link our...
Before Amelia could finish, all the crystals in the room turned back to a sharp teal green, the energy connecting the both of them, burning hot. Amelia screamed in anguish, the vat glowing teal as well, while Voyd did the same. His head was thrown back, unleashing a howl of agony as his eyes suddenly bloomed a burning teal color. The veins on her skin igniting green as well, as his body levitated in an A pose. Voyd! Mom! Jaida cried. What the hell? Ellie cried with shock. What's happening? Winona screamed. Coco covered her mouth. Toonie stared in absolute horror. Francine looked mortified. Meowcary looked as though he had seen something like this before. So much for playing it safe! Did this idiot even account for something like this? Francine then shouted, taking a few steps back. Shut up! Jaida cried as she summoned her hammer. Jaida, wait! If you break the glass, it will alert everyone! Coco pleaded, but Jaida wasn't listening. She took one hard swing, hitting the glass, causing it to crack. Then another. This hit caused Voyd to spasm and be released, the cosmic essence colliding into his body, breaking whatever hold had occurred. Voyd landed to the floor with a hard thunk. Jaida, wait! Meowcary cried. As Jaida swung one last time, she, to her own shock, missed, as the capsule containing her mother was suddenly yanked into the ground by an unseen mechanism. Amelia was suddenly gone. However, Jaida did hit something. With a flash of green light, the large brain-headed wraith warped into view, his hands at his sides, manipulating the crystals, controlling the essence that had just occurred. Jaida's hammer clashed with his lower half, causing it to shatter and for her to bounce back. Everyone looked up, including Voyd, whose green eyes slowly reverted back to their blue hues. They all stared, gazing up with absolute fear upon who had entered the room, upon who had been behind what had just happened. Hex! Meowcary growled, as the Wraith eyed everyone with malicious intent.
Oh, the readings were correct. The EC has been transferred. Yes, yes, yes.
Hex sang, making everyone look puzzled. EC? Ellie asked, readying her bat.
Emerald Celestia,
Valkyrie uttered, looking back upon Voyd.
Oh no.
As the Wraith began to speak, his voice filled with an unsettling enthusiasm, the room erupting into chaos.
Come with me, dear little vessel. Your friends can join too. Yes, yes, yes.
Hex sang as tubes suddenly snaked out from his back, immediately ensnaring Coco, Ellie, Toonie, and Winona.
Hey! Let go!
Toonie cried as he pulled out one of the grenades and activated it.
Toonie, wait!
Valkyrie shouted. Toonie then threw his grenade in a desperate bid to stop Hex. It then exploded with a deafening roar, sending the room into a chaos of blue flames and shuddering stones. The walls cracked, the floor shattered, and the air was filled with the smell of smoke and dust. The room began to collapse. As the dust settled, Jaida drew her blade, advancing on Hex with Valkyrie and Toby by her side. Voyd, his eyes still faintly glowing with an unearthly energy, rose to his feet, his gaze then fixed on Francine, who had stumbled in the explosion. As she tried to move, the floor beneath her gave way. Before she realized it, she stumbled and fell into an opening sinkhole. The Spark's heart dropped, and he knew he had to act fast.
Voyd! I can handle this! Save her! Hurry!
Jaida cried, her voice ringing out as she engaged Hex. Voyd nodded, his mask activated again, and he dove into the sinkhole, head first. The rocks and debris rushed up to meet him, but he squinted through the visor, his eyes fixed on Francine's falling, screaming form. Summoning his wings with a burst of speed, he caught her, his wings blasting downwards to slow their ascent. The rocks and cavern walls rushed past them, a blur of motion and sound as Voyd clutched Francine close to his chest.
Hang on!
He cried, his voice echoing off the walls.
It's about to get bumpy!
The rocks and debris pounded against them, threatening to crush them at any moment. The hits were so hard that it broke Voyd's focus. His wings dissolved, and Francine's screams filled the air, her body trembling with fear. Voyd's voice, calm and reassuring, spoke into her ear.
It's okay! I'm here! I'm here!
He repeated, his words a lifeline in the chaos. As they plummeted deeper into the hole, the darkness seemed to press in around them. And then, in the distance, a blue light appeared, a beacon of hope in the darkness. Voyd swiftly turned his back to the ground, keeping Francine atop him. He closed his eyes and prayed beyond anything else that they would both wake up after the impact. As Voyd slowly came to, his head throbbed in agony. He was met with an unfamiliar darkness. The absence of light was suffocating, replaced by an eerie dark blue hue that seemed to seep into his skin. His gaze drifted downwards, and his fingers instinctively brushed against the ground, sensing the coarse texture of black sand beneath him. With a groan, he sat up, retracting his helmet to reveal a cavernous space that seemed to stretch on forever. The sound of gently lapping water against the sand filled the air, and the reflection of the water's surface cast a mesmerizing blue glow on the walls of the cave. Voyd's mind began to clear, and he recalled the events that had led him here. His friends, Jaida, everyone, they were in danger. The rocks that had followed him and Francine during their fall had enclosed the entrance above, trapping them inside. A pang of worry struck his heart as he turned to locate Francine, his eyes scanning the blue, illuminated darkness until they landed on her motionless form. Francine lay on her back, her figure silhouetted against the radiant blue water that filled a large portion of the cave. Voyd's anxiety grew as he scrambled to her side, gently shaking her shoulders to rouse her from her stupor. "Francine!" he called out, his voice laced with concern. The sound of his own voice seemed to echo through the cave, making him feel isolated and alone. Slowly, Francine's eyes fluttered open, her gaze cloudy and unfocused. As her vision cleared, she locked on the Void's worried face, and a scowl grew on her features. With a sudden burst of energy, she scooped up a handful of sand and hurled it in the Void's eyes, causing him to yelp in pain and stumble backwards. "Get off me!" she shouted, her voice dripping with venom. Void's eyes watered as he frantically blinked away the sand, his face contorting in a mixture of pain and shock. "Ugh! Hey, what the hell?" he exclaimed, his voice rising in frustration. As his vision cleared, he beheld Francine standing before him. Francine's gaze swept over the cave, taking in their predicament. "Oh, great! Great!" she exclaimed, her voice dripping with anger. "We're stuck! God damn it, we're stuck!" She kicked more sand at Voyd, her anger and frustration boiling over. "And it's all your fault!" she shouted, her words cutting deep in the Void's psyche. The air was electric, with tension as Void's anger flared in response to Francine's accusations. "My fault?" he retorted, his arms spreading wide in indignation. "I just saved you!" Her face twisted into a snarl as she stepped closer to the Void, her eyes flashing with anger. "Oh wow, yeah, real good job, hero!" she spat, her voice heavy with sarcasm. "Because of your stupid leadership skills, we're now stuck with no way out, it would seem!" Her words were laced with venom, each one designed to cut deep in the Void. "I swear to God, ever since you came to our planet, my life has been nothing but chaos!" Francine shouted, shoving Voyd with surprising strength. "Every time something bad happens, you're always at the center of it!" Francine raged on. "You act all prideful and egotistical when you beat a bad guy, laughing like it's nothing while me and people without powers are left wondering if we could have died." Voyd stared, his brow furrowing. "Egotistical?" Voyd repeated, his brow furrowing in anger. "Yeah, a big dumb ego that's made everyone love you. You got friends, you got the girl, and you just love showing that off. You're perfect in every goddamn way and it makes me sick." Voyd spat back. "Are you stupid?" he asked, rage in his heart. "Listen to yourself, little Miss Queen Bee." Voyd pointed a finger square on Francine's collarbone. "You're one to talk about being egotistical. You parade yourself around the school. You're the cheer team captain. People adore you. And what do you do with that?" Voyd shouted on, his emotions burning. "You bully and belittle people that don't have a chance of being a perfect little pop star like you." Voyd's white irises began to turn black, making Francine take a small step backwards. "Do you know how many times Jaida and Coco have cried because of the things you say? Fun fact, Jaida is not mentally well, and you've only made it worse through the years," Voyd stated, taking a step forward. "Coco is insecure and quiet because of people like you. Think Batira Ellie's there for her because people like Coco actually deserve love," Voyd ranted on. "And honestly, I'm not even sure if you know what love means," he said, taking a step forward. "Don't you dare go where I think you're going," Francine hissed. "What? Winona?" Voyd asked, making Francine flinch. "Oh, don't act surprised. Do you have any idea how much she's cried over you?" Voyd was now almost screaming. She had believed for the longest time that the person you supposedly were was still in there somewhere, yet every time you come around you do nothing but bury that hope she had deeper and deeper. Francine slowly shook her head. "You want to know why I'm happy and proud of my life? Why I'm always so extravagant and loud about it? You really want to know why I have this kind of ego as you perceive it as?" Voyd demanded, as tears welled in his eyes, a broken smile forming on his face. "I lost everything!" he yelled, making Francine stumble back on her rear. "I watched my world die when I was 10. I lost my friends, I watched my family fade before my very eyes! Francine began to shake. I was living on my own, fighting monsters, risking my life all by myself until I met Jaida, Ellie, Coco, and Winona. Tears were now pouring down his face like a river. They gave me a life when no one else in this universe would. Everyone turned me away until them. I would probably be dead on the side of a road if the people you targeted the most didn't carry me into their arms. I'm expressive about my life because I am thankful that I was given that second chance. Voyd was hyperventilating. As for Winona, she's done with you. That much is certain. And thank God, because someone as kind and hopeful as her deserves more in life than a piece of raspberry trash! Francine flinched, glaring at Voyd, tears visibly pouring out from under her bangs. For a moment, they stared in silence, the clarity hitting Voyd like a physical blow. He shook his head, the white light matter returning to his eyes. He couldn't recall ever shouting like that, making anyone cry for that matter. And although it was Francine, the one who had done nothing but hurt him and his friends, it struck him in the heart. He felt bad immediately. Francine, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be so. Before Voyd could finish, Francine screamed, got up, and lunged at Voyd, tackling him to the ground. Ah! Voyd shouted as Francine pounded on his chest plate. I hate you! I hate you! I hate you! I hate you! She wailed as Voyd tried to push her off, finding her to be a lot stronger than expected. Francine, I'm sorry, get off! Voyd shouted with shock as the two rolled over in the sand. Francine was livid, throwing sand, punching the armor, and not hitting Voyd in the face. It didn't appear she was actually trying to hurt him. Rather, she was just letting out what had been years of stress. I hate you! I hate you! I hate you! I hate you! She sobbed, and then she grabbed him by the scarf, shaking him hard, leaving him to stare with stunned eyes. I hate you! I hate you! She ranted on, as Voyd, using his strength, righted them back up to their feet. Francine, still holding his scarf, her head angled down, tears spilling on the sand as they stood before the water. Francine! Francine! Voyd tried to reason, as her grip weakened. I hate you! I hate you! Voyd could only stare as she then looked up, her right eye visible, glossy, and filled with sorrow as her hair parted. She then said something that made everything fall quiet. I hate you because you're everything I want to be. What? Voyd asked, the word catching on his breath. Francine's cheeks were wet, the tears tracking down in glistening streams that caught the water's light. She didn't speak. She just weakly pressed her head on Voyd's chest. What do you mean? Francine. Voyd repeated as he softly held her. I hate you, she whispered, the words raw and jagged. Because people love you for who you really are. She blinked, a shaky breath escaping her. You're genuine in everything you do. You never wear a fake face, a forced smile, a stupid persona. All your actions are noble, selfless. You're kind, and you own your mistakes and fix them. Her grip tightened, the fingers digging into the cold metal, and her legs gave way under the weight of her grief. Voyd's throat tightened. He let their bodies slide down together, the sand yielding beneath their knees. The world fell into a muffled hush, broken only by the soft sigh of the water. Francine turned her head away. You're right, she muttered. You have no ego. I do. And so much more. She swiveled, her body to the water now, sinking onto the sand, legs drawn up, arms wrapped tightly around her shins. Voyd mirrored her motion, turning his own body so he could sit beside her, their silhouettes outlined against the blue shine. He watched the slow, rhythmic way she wiped her cheeks, the way each tear seemed to carve a tiny channel down her cheekbone. Confusion swirled in his chest, but curiosity rooted him there. I'm so sorry for saying those things. I didn't mean it. He managed, the words fumbling out. It's fine, she said, voice barely above the whisper of the water's hum. You can't apologize because you're not even wrong. More tears fell, catching the light and scattering it across the sand. Voyd's brow furrowed, and he scooted a little closer. A question rose, tentative, from the depths of his memory with Winona. Francine, what happened on that vacation? A few years ago, before high school, I think. Francine's eyebrows flickered, her gaze darting away as if the answer might be waiting in the water. What are you talking about? She asked, her voice shaky. Voyd's eyes narrowed. Winona told me that you came back changed. She doesn't know why. He held her stare, the silence between them thickening. I want to know, Francine. What happened in those 3 months that made you like this? She shivered, the cave wind catching her matted hair. You wouldn't care, she said, voice strained. Voyd edged forward. I do. Honestly, out of everyone up there, I think I'm the only one who does right now. He offered a small, reassuring smile. I know I don't have them, but I'm all yours. For a heartbeat, Francine just stared at the endless blue, inhaling the old air until her lungs went full. Then, with a tremor that seemed to shake the very grains beneath her, she began to speak. It wasn't the vacation that made me act the way I did, she said, rubbing at her eyes. It was only the breaking point. She glanced at the small waves in the water, catching her reflection. Do you know what it's like to be the black sheep of a family, Voyd? Voyd shrugged, the gesture slow, almost shy. I was the youngest in my family. I can't really say I was a black sheep, though. She nodded. My family, they're strict, formal. They're obsessed with success, with keeping a good image, a solid career, I guess. She let her head drop onto her knees. I'm the youngest too. I have 2 siblings. My sister, she's a violinist. My brother, a tennis prodigy. You can imagine the pressure my parents put on me then with those 2 being very successful. Voyd's voice was soft, probing. Are they weighing you down with expectation? Francine let out a short laugh that turned into a sniffle. That's putting it lightly, Nova Bum. She brushed the sand with a trembling hand. They care more about what I'll become than about me. Period. And after I transitioned, everything seemed to get worse. She glanced up at him, eyes glistening. Transitioned? Voyd asked, his brow arching. I'm trans, Voyd, she said, her throat tight. I was born a boy, but even from a young age, I felt wrong, like something just didn't fit. Voyd tilted his head, the faint hum of his horns blooming. Whoa, I didn't know that. I imagine your parents were... A sad smile flickered across Francine's lips. Our relationship has never been good. It's always been dysfunctional. It got worse when I committed to the change. She swallowed, her breath hitching. Anyways, when we went on that vacation, it really wasn't a vacation at all. It just amplified everything that had been simmering. The focus was never on me as my own person. It was on what I could become for them, what I could mean for the family name. She reached up, fingers grazing for a necklace she could no longer hold. Her head bowed low. After we returned, my parents basically gave me away to my aunt. Voyd's eyes widened, a mix of disbelief and anger coursing through his veins. What? They gave you away? He whispered, the words almost lost to the wind. Francine shrugged, a hollow movement. They would never say it, but I knew I was the family stain. Aurora wasn't even where I was supposed to live. It became my home after the abrupt shift in who would take care of me. She paused, her voice cracking. My aunt is no better. She's hard on me. Expectations are crushing. Then I tried to prove them all wrong. Every single one of them. I built a me-focused attitude. She swallowed, the breath catching in her throat. When high school started, I threw myself into the popular crowd. Cheerleading, dancing, anything that would put me in the spotlight. I wanted every eye on me, to be seen, to be wanted. I thought that would make them accept me, that I could be big like them, to prove that I can be important, that I mattered. The water lapped on and missed the confession. I was too late when I realized that I was blinded by what my family wanted over what I wanted. She muttered, the admission slipping free like a held breath. The cave's wind carried it away, but the weight of it lingered. Her voice wavered. As I grew popular, I developed the trait that made things worse. She barked a laugh, sharp and self-loathing. My queen bee persona? It's more so just an act for myself. My bullying? It's a terrible way to make me feel good. Belittling others in order to make myself feel better about my own crappy life. She looked out at the water, her reflection fragmented into 1,000 unflattering shards. I surrounded myself with fake friends, giving a fake performance, just to fill the void that was left by those that expect too much from me. And in the end, I guess it costed me the one person that ever truly cared about me. Across from her, Voyd sat quietly, his horns dimmed in the darkness. The air between them thrummed with the unsaid things. Until Francine's sobs returned. I thought if I seemed cool enough, Winona would love me more than she did before. Her hands trembled as she clutched her knees. But all I did was ruin the one true relationship that made me feel whole. Francine held her head. This morning, before Forest Fest, my sister called me, wanting me to come home. Francine wept as Voyd inched closer, sorrow etched on his own face. They want me to come home after years of neglect, of stress, like they didn't discard me? The tears flowed again. I don't want to go back, Francine whispered, her voice cracking. But I'm starting to think that I have nothing here in Aurora. Winona hates me. The kids who claim to be my friends, They disappear when it matters. I can already see Toonie slipping away. And I have no one to blame but myself. She buried her face in her hands. I'm a failure. Raspberry trash. Like you said. I'm all alone. Voyd fully scooted to her side. Before she could protest, he was beside her, the warmth of his hands steady on her shoulders. No, he said, firm and low. His horns flickered, brighter, casting a soft blue glow around them. You're not alone. I'm here. Francine flinched at the contact, her body rigid. I'm here, Voyd repeated. For months, Voyd had been the butt of her cruel jokes, the awkward boy who had it all somehow. But now, as his arms encircled her, she felt the heat of his tears against her hair. It should have felt humiliating, maybe back then. Instead, it broke her in this moment, her body collapsing into the embrace she had denied herself. Francine, Voyd murmured, his voice thick. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. His horns hummed, sending a tingle through her spine, a warmth that seeped into her bones. She hadn't realized how cold she'd been until the spark thawed her. She pulled back slightly, her fingers lingering on his wrists. Voyd, I'm the one who's sorry. For all of it. Her voice was a rasp. Just leave me here. I'll only hurt them more. No, Voyd barked, making Francine flinch. Don't think that. Don't say things like that. You don't deserve it. Francine shook her head. Are you kidding me? Of course I... Before she could finish, Voyd suddenly held both of her hands. It's never too late to change your ways, Francine. Never. Voyd reasoned, which made Francine fall silent. What happened to you? It's not fair. The way you were treated, none of it. Francine, if you want. Voyd suddenly smiled. I could be your friend. Francine paused, mind racing. What? Voyd, She began. I'm serious. I can help you. I can be there for you, as I am for the others. Someone you can rely on. Voyd then held both of Francine's hands together, cupping them in his. It's not too late to change. Francine looked away. But what about the others? What about Winona? Francine asked, and Voyd simply cocked his head. How do you rebuild something that's been shattered? Voyd thought on this for a moment, until a memory returned to him. Do you love her? He asked. Francine nodded weakly. Well, my mom told me that if you truly do love someone, you would do anything in your power to make it work. Voyd stated as he stood back up. It's not too late for you, or her. If you're just honest and do the right thing going forwards, you can prove to her that this version of you is the same girl she loved before. Voyd extended a hand down to Francine, who eyed it. I know what it's like to be scared. To think you can't do the impossible. To make a leap like that. But the last year and a half has shown me that anything can be possible. Voyd stated. Would you rather try, or just waste away down here? Francine thought on his words. Come on, Rictum. If there's one thing I know about you, it's that you never back down when you care too much. Francine seeing Voyd's promised posture, gently smiled, taking his hand and being hoisted up. You really think I can do something like that? She asked. Voyd nodded. All you gotta do is be the real you. Not that queen bee know-it-all. The real Francine. The Francine that made Winona's whole world. Voyd tilted his head. Just gotta be you. Speaking of, Voyd said, as he reached up, brushing her bangs aside. The gesture was gentle, assuring. There. No more hiding these. You have pretty eyes. I think everyone deserves to see them. Francine stared at Voyd, a faint blush forming on her face. She couldn't lie. It was nice being able to see clearly. All she could do in that moment was just hug Voyd again, and he hugged back softly. Thank you, she said. Voyd simply nodded. Francine's fingers twitched as she came to her senses. She pushed Voyd off gently, their bodies still aligned in an awkward half-hold, her breath catching in her throat. Sorry, she muttered, her voice thin as she brushed at her arms, willing the heat in her face to fade. Voyd merely chuckled, his smirk softening the weight of the moment. It's all good, he said, rocking back on his heels. Now, let's find a way out of here. Jaida and the gang are probably still fighting Hex as we speak. Francine exhaled, nodding, and let her gaze drift over the jagged walls. She tilted her head, feeling the faintest whisper of a breeze tugging at her hair. I remember reading in a book that if a cave has wind, it usually means there's an open passage somewhere. Voyd gave a solid nod, one that made her chest tighten with unexpected pride. There, he said, his finger jabbing the air towards a hairline crack in the rear wall. It yawned wider as he approached, dust trickling down its edges like spilled sugar. This might be our exit, Voyd stated as he fished a grenade from his chest plate, a small metal blue sphere that hummed with spark essence. I know you're probably tired of explosions and crazy antics today, he said, half joking. But we're gonna have to use hard force for this, Voyd said, pressing the grenade in the crack and activating it. He stepped back, guarding Francine. The blast was quieter than she'd expected, a muted boom that sent a cloud of dust billowing into the space. When the haze cleared, an upward chasm revealed itself, its walls a jagged maze of stone. At the top, a glimmer of green light pulsed like a distant heartbeat. Well, that's our leave, Voyd stated. Are you gonna apply your angel wings and fly us up? Francine asked, but Voyd shook his head. No, my essence is currently regenerating. Even so, this is too narrow to fly through, he said, his breath visible in the sudden cool. He turned to Francine, who was staring with wide eyes. What? Wait, no, there's no way I'm climbing that, she declared, crossing her arms. Voyd simply raised an eyebrow, a smirk returning to his face. Who said you were the one climbing? Before she could protest, he was kneeling, back face to her. Get on! The command left no room for negotiation. Reluctantly, Francine complied, her arms looping around his neck, her legs squeezing his waist. She looked embarrassed. Don't tell anyone I did this, she muttered into his shoulder. Wouldn't dream of it. Voyd lied, and she could feel his grin even as he began to climb. The ascent was a symphony of fear and forced levity. Voyd's muscles bunched with each grip and leap as he vaulted from one narrow ledge to the next. Don't look down, he barked, when Francine stiffened against him. Hey, relax. I've climbed a literal alien tower once. I've got this. His bravado was a balm, though her nail was dug into his collar. As they climbed higher, the conversation shifted. "Hey," Voyd said, suddenly, perched on a precarious ledge. "So, like, are we cool now? Like, actually cool?" The question hung between them, equal parts absurd and tender. Francine huffed. "I can't believe I'm saying it, but yeah, after that kind of talk, how can we not?" Voyd let out a laugh. "Wow! Who would have thought that? Voyd Novison and Francine Richtum, the newest buds on the block," Voyd called. "Okay, don't push it," Francine replied, laughing a little. Was that a chuckle? Did I just make Francine Richtum chuckle? Voyd asked. "Shut it, you heard nothing," Francine snapped, but Voyd laughed. "Ha! I did! Who would have thought that would ever happen?" Voyd said, making Francine roll her eyes. The banter then turned serious without warning. "You know," Francine began, her voice quiet against the wind. "I'm surprised you didn't have a crazy reaction to me being, you know, usually people are confused or upset." Voyd's grip on the rocks faltered for a heartbeat as he continued up. "Why would I be upset over something like that?" he asked, and the sincerity in his tone made her throat ache. "Because the world sucks," she stated. "And people suck. I wasn't expecting you to be so easygoing about it." Voyd shook his head, his voice steady. "Why would anyone care? It's your life. Why should someone else get to decide?" Francine shook her head. "Humans are stupid, to put it blunt," Francine added. "I see. I guess since we're on the topic, I'm rather curious. What was your old name, if you don't mind me asking?" Voyd inquired as they got ever closer. Francis. I went by Francis." Voyd tilted his head with wonder. "I see. I'm guessing you chose Francine because of how similar they sounded." Francine then shook her head to Voyd's surprise. "You'd think that, but it was more so a happy accident," Francine stated. "A happy accident?" asked a spark. "Yeah. I actually got inspired by this old celebrity that was prevalent in the 80s. Her name was Francesca Chow," Francine began. "She was an icon for motivating people to be who they wanted to be, not what others wanted to see." Francine elaborated with a smile. "When I was in the process of changing my life, I looked to her for advice. Old magazines, footage. She was a real hero for people like me back in those days. Her words motivated me to take that leap in being this version of myself. So, a name similar sounding came to mind. Francine. It just so happens to be similar to Francis." Voyd nodded. "Happy accident indeed," he stated. "Yeah. I only wish now that her quotes rang true in my actions towards the others." "Do you really think I can change?" Francine asked as they reached the top, which was a vent ready to be opened. "Only you can answer that, Francine. But I believe you can," Voyd said, placing his hand on the vent. "You ready?" he asked, and Francine nodded. "Ready," she replied, as Voyd opened the vent, back into the unknown horrors of the lab. Despite this, Francine felt hopeful for the first time in a very long time.